Good morning. I'm Dr. Tom Rivera, and this morning, in continuation with our oral history of South Colton, we have two guests. We have Mr. Jose Hernandez, who is a lifelong resident of Colton, born and raised in Colton. And is that right? Did I say it correctly? Born and raised in Colton?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And then we have Mr. David Gasca, who was also born and raised in Colton. And I want to thank you very much for being with us this morning, especially on a beautiful day like today. And we're at the Fowle Library at Cal State San Bernardino, and it's about 9:15 on June the 19th. So why don't we get started? First of all, I know that both of you are veterans, military veterans. Joe, you're World War II, and David, you're a veteran of the Korean conflict.
Korean, right.
And why don't we start with you, Joe? You mentioned that you were at Colton High School and you were a junior, and somehow an opportunity came to you where you could train to be an airplane mechanic at Norton. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, we was, I didn't like to go to school too much, so I spent about 2 years in high school. And then they were just opening, they didn't call it Norton, it was Army Air Force base in San Bernardino, and they were just trying to get some more mechanics, get them started because the war was just starting and they didn't know how long it was going to last. So I went over and applied for the schooling that they were giving, and they did pick me up, and I went to school part there for being an aircraft mechanic.
And you were there for, after they picked you up, you went to Valley College and you got some more training at Valley College.
Yeah, well, that was part of their training. Part of the schooling was at Valley College.
And then after Valley College, you went back to
Went
Norton.
back to Norton, yeah.
What year was that, Joe?
That was in 1943, I believe it was, 43.
You must have been, what, about 16 years old, 17 years old?
16,
Yeah.
15, 16.
Yeah. And then after you were there at Norton for a couple of years, or how long were you there? Did you join the Navy?
And joined the Navy, yeah.
And how long were you in the Navy?
I was in the Navy from 1944, the last part of 44, to 1952.
And then after that, you came out of the Navy as a veteran,
Yeah.
and then you went back to Norton?
Yeah, they had a regulation that whatever job you left for the service, they had to pick you up again.
And that's what happened in your
That's
case.
what happened to me.
And then you decided that you still didn't like that, so you went back in the Navy again.
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
Well, I had a broken area there between 44 and 46, and then I joined the Navy again, and I went to work for about 6 months at Norton, and then they decided, well, it's getting boring and what have you, so I joined again in 1940, that's part of 46, and I didn't get out till 1952.
Uh-huh. And then came back to
Came
Norton.
back again to Norton.
They couldn't get rid of you at Norton.
No, they couldn't.
And you were at Norton for how many years?
A total of 39 years total.
39
Yeah,
years.
they included my service time into my seniority because of the federal job and my military. So they added my military time to my civilian.
That's a good
time.
deal. That was a
So
good
that
deal. It was a good deal. And then from Norton, you also, where the war equipment or the weaponry improved. We went to missiles and all those modern activities, and
Yeah.
you were trained, and you went. They sent you to school to also train on how to repair or upkeep some of those missiles in different bases throughout the country.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you like that?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was interesting
Uh-huh.
and scary at times.
Scary,
So-
why you be scary?
Well, you know, you work on these silos, and the missile sits in the center of the silo, and then they got platforms. Some platforms went up like this, and some platforms went up like this at different levels.
Uh-huh.
And the ones I hated, the ones I didn't like too well, the ones that came from the bottom up like that, because you didn't know whether those things could go down and that'd be the end of you. So,
So
that
anyway,
that was kind of scary. And some of those missiles, like the Titan 1 or the Titan 2, they were loaded all the time, and you could hear, you could put your ear to the missile itself, you could hear the little bit of bubbling, you know.
It's a 10 megaton.
Yeah, and they were loaded with an atomic bomb already, with a warhead and
Uh-huh.
everything.
yeah.
So it was a risky business, and you had to go in, and they used to call it escape pack, and you trained for that because they don't, in case they had a leak or something, and you smell some of the fumes, it'll kill you, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So what they done, they train you, they give you about 15 or 20 minutes of air with those escape packs, they call them.
Yeah.
And you had to get out of there quick, you know.
So anyway,
Because if you ran out of breathing air from that, then you started breathing the air that's contaminated, and you would,
they were dead duck then.
you couldn't make it.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that you didn't graduate from high school. You went to
No.
Colton High School, but you got your diploma. Can you show us your diploma that you recently got? Yeah. Apparently, the county of San Bernardino schools provided diplomas for veterans of World
Mhm.
War II
Sure.
that did not complete their high school diploma. And you got this from the county of San Bernardino,
Mhm.
and that date is, I cannot see a date here. Let's see. I don't see a date here, but it was done just recently because Gary Thomas is still the county superintendent of schools.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, could you just hold it up and just
Sure.
show it to the camera? High school diploma because Joe did not complete his high school. He went into, I guess, paramilitary service to make sure that our airplane engines were running right in preparation for the war. Well, congratulations. That's a wonderful thing that was awarded to you just recently. Yeah, congratulations.
Mhm.
And
Thank
David, you were a Korean veteran. You were a Korean veteran, and when did you join the service?
In July 1951, I had been out of school, and I got a notice from the, what was it, selected board at that time, I think it was, that
Yeah, yeah.
take a physical. I took a physical in LA. They took us in a bus over there and passed the physical, and that I would be notified to go in the Army. I went home and I said, Army, I don't want to be in the Army. So I went to the Air Force recruiter and got recruited. And I left in July to San Antonio, Texas for basic training at Lackland Air Force Base. From there, I was classified as a automotive mechanic because in high school I had taken trades, wood shop, automotive, sheet metal machine stuff. And so I had a little background. So they sent us to a tech school in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. It was affiliated with Oklahoma A&M. And from there, we completed. It was kind of simple for me because I had already had the basics. And I was stationed from there to Denver, Colorado Laurie Air Force Base. I was there a year. So I started working on fire engines. It was a school for firemen. So I had the equipment, and we had to keep it up. Let me retract back a little bit. In high school, my last year, I had to fill in a class, so I took typing. That's where all the girls were. Huh? So,
Oh, you were not a dummy, really.
no, no. So anyway, going back to Denver, I was working on the fire engines, and some sergeant came over and he said, "You know how to type?" I said, "A little bit," and I guess he looked at my records. So we need you over here in the office. So I went in the office and I was scheduling vehicles to come in for maintenance and what have you. I was there exactly a year, and then I was shipped overseas to Casablanca, North Africa, Morocco. There again, I started working on vehicles because that was my, what they call MOS. So again, a few weeks down the line, a fella came over and said, "You know how to type?" And I said, "Yeah." So again, they put me in the office to start scheduling vehicles. After so many miles, it had to come in for a tune-up, tires, whatever it consisted of. So I was there a year and a half. During that time, I took leave and went to Spain as a tourist. And I came back 18 months later, and I was stationed at March Air Force Base, Riverside. There again, I was put into the automotive shop, and there again, for my last year of typing,
It really has paid off.
it sure did. I didn't have to get dirty full of grease and
Well, not
climb.
only that, but you got all the girls, and then you got all the cushy jobs overseas when you were in the service.
So there again, I had to do the contracts for anything the base couldn't do automotive. Purge the JP4 tankers, the buses, the cars, the trucks. I had the general's car painted, but I had to contract it outside the base.
So you did that at Barge Field for how many years, David?
I was there about a year, and then I got discharged there.
And what year was that when you got discharged?
1955.
1955, and then you came back to Colton?
Came back to Colton and started looking for a job, and I went over in South Colton. There was a pipe, concrete conduit was the name of the place. Remember?
Las Pipas.
Las Pipas, they
Las
used to call
Pipas,
it. Yeah. Went over there and I'm gonna give me a job. Here it was, And the guy said, "Yeah."
I'm a veteran.
Yeah, I'm a veteran. I
Great,
want
I'm
a- I want
wonderful.
a job, you
I
know.
traveled all over the world.
And the guy told me, he said, "Come back tomorrow. We got some weeds over there. We want you to hold and pick out." I went home and I said, "Man, this is not it." So meanwhile, I had put an application at Norton, and I got a job over there. I started what they call a box factory. Used to make boxes and crates for shipping parts of aircrafts. I didn't stay there too long. From there, there was an opening in sheet metal, and they sent me for just schooling, maybe a couple of weeks in sheet metal, and I was working on the Globemaster. I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that had the big door in the front that opened
Yeah.
up front.
Clamshell.
And worked on that for a while, and then basically I was more of an engine person, so there was an opening in jet engines. So I worked jet engines. I worked on the J78, I think, J57, Pratt & Whitney engines, and after that, I think we worked together in the missile. We went to missiles.
Yeah.
The first missile that was there was the Thor, and that was basically used in England. Then the Atlas I, the Atlas II came into effect, and when I got in, the Titan I and the Titan II, the one he was talking about. So they sent me to school to Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas. And there they taught us everything about the missile, except the bomb. We never. I remember they put us in a room and put your pencils down and just listen. And I remember there was 5 safety devices before the bomb would ignite. And came back to Norton, and we covered the southwest. We were in our teams, and we covered Rapid City, South Dakota, Ellsworth Air Force Base, Cheyenne, Vandenberg, Arizona, Tucson.
Tucson, yeah.
I don't recall another one. Denver, yeah, Denver. Most of the time that I spent was in South Dakota and Tucson, and we worked in the silos underneath. And he reminded me what he just said, that they called it the escape suit. It was the initial escape suit, and a lot of the guys didn't want to get into them. So I said, I'll get into it. So it was like a spacesuit with a bubble, and you had a pack in the back inside where oxygen, so you could breathe. And all those valves down underneath in the silo, they were pressurized, and you couldn't see it or smell the fuel. And if it came across you, they showed us pictures where your arms would just be sawed off. And if you got the fluid on you, it would affect your skin. So you had to wear this suit. And so we'd go down to levels, and they had these platforms that came down. The missile was here, and the platforms would come down there, and then there was doors, and you had to work inside. Change pumps or electrical.
So just the upkeep of the equipment.
Maintain it, have it ready, and it was ready. And we would lean against that, take a break. We would lean on sit on the platform and lean against that bomb. If that thing ever went off, we'd be ashes.
You had a lot of power behind your back that was
And,
protecting you.
yeah.
Let me kind of shift a little bit and just say, it seems that both of you, I had no idea that both of you were not only veterans, World War II and Korean, but also you had a wonderful opportunity to continue providing service to our country by working at Norton Air Force Base. That both of you had great opportunities, not only military, but also job opportunities by working in the military base at Norton. And in getting back to Colton, David, you were heavily involved, much involved in the Veterans Organization. You were part of the Fidel Hernandez post in South Colton. You were also part of the American GI Forum in San Diego. And now you're very actively, have been for many years, almost 40 years, actively involved with the American Legion Post 155 in Colton. Your brother, Joe, your brother Fidel, was a bombardier. He was a turret gunner with a P-17s that flew from France to Germany and bombed Germany. And in one of the missions in 1942, November 23rd, 1942, they suffered some plane damage, and they did not make it to their base, and they were lost at sea. They were lost at sea. Your brother was one of the 11 airmen that was lost at sea. So the citizens of Colton, the veterans that came back from World War II, decided to start the post, the Fidel Hernandez post in South Colton. David, do you remember what the number of that was?
I believe it was 754, if I'm.
I
You don't recall?
750.